Touchdown, Chargers!
What's up, guys? Welcome into a brand new episode of Chargers Weekly. As always, joined by the voice of the Chargers, Matt Money Smith. We're going to get you set for Dallas on Saturday, the preseason finale. We'll look back to preseason game number 2 against the Rams. But, buddy, I think I have to start with the best news of the week. Justin Herbert is practicing, and apparently, by all accounts and all reports, Justin Herbert had one of the best practices he's ever had in powder blue yesterday.
Yeah, and that was the concern. Is there going to be a lack of chemistry? Are you going to need time to get back up to speed to find your rhythm? No, not with Justin Herbert.
Not at all.
I mean, not with the Herbinator. He's a cyborg. He's part robot. Just it's incredible for him to be able to just step in and on Wednesday, the third down drill, bang, 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 4 touchdowns. And you heard Jesse Minter after practice, defend his defense a little bit, say, well, listen, we're not going starters on starters. We're giving them a couple looks for them to adjust off of. And that's sort of what that drill was. But still, at the same time, just the rhythm, the pinpoint accuracy, and what we've come to expect from Justin Herbert as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, regardless of what rankings are or EV added or all that sort of stuff. I think you've seen it these last 2 days, and I'm hopeful that the fools that were predicting demise, I shouldn't do that. You know what? Now that I think about it, I don't want to do that because people are going to say jinx or whatever. So I feel very good about where we stood on this whole matter, reading the tea leaves of how the team was playing it, sort of what we felt we were seeing, the fact that he was cruising around, even though the cameras didn't catch it. It's like, yeah, I think he's all right. And at least right now, I don't even feel like the injury is there, just the way he looks moving around. I mean, he's scrambling, he's rolling to his left and throwing darts on the move. And that's certainly encouraging.
Worries have been alleviated throughout the Chargers fandom and fan base. And you said it last week, let's not worry. We think Justin's going to be fine. He gets out of the boot. It's exactly what the team said. But the fact that he's playing at this level, coming off, being in a boot for a couple of weeks, I think is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it is.
You're prisoner of the moment. Like when you're watching these preseason games and you don't see him out there and you're just worried like, hey, well, what if he's not going to be out there week 1? Like what's the plan? And now I feel like all is well, but this is where you can kind of evaluate the back half of this roster, a lot of the reserve positions, but know that Justin, that ramp up is real and he's going to be ready to go week 1 against the Raiders.
Yeah, for me, look, I probably shouldn't have kind of got off the rails there for a second. I feel like we said this, and I know people say that I'm patronizing Coach Harbaugh or just biased because I work for the Chargers, but he's really got it. We don't know. Like Ian Rappaport does not know when he says this could be a lingering injury. Chase Daniel does not know. You're not Justin Herbert. You have no idea what his pain tolerance is. You have no idea what the injury is. So projecting, this thing could creep up in week 4. Okay, yeah, it could. Or it couldn't.
Anything could.
Yes, a defensive lineman could plow their head into the side of your knee when it's planted in week 1, and it changes everything. Like it's football. It's a violent sport. Things happen. Guys get hurt. From week 1 moving on, every single player that's in a game is going to be dealing with something. That's just the nature of the sport. So I think for me, I just go off what my eyes see. And man, these last 2 days of practice have been something to really take in and feel really, really good about.
I was steadfast in saying that I really was not worried about Justin missing time because he's so smart. Like he knows the system already. I was more worried about the receivers getting that chemistry. And, Ladd McConkey said it. He's like, hey, you better be ready. The ball's coming. I think Popper started his article with a Brendan Rice, like kind of bewildered that he threw like a 65-yard bomb and kind of overthrew him, and Brendan Rice wasn't ready for it because he hasn't probably caught balls from him for the last couple of weeks.
Right.
But I think it's more of an opportunity for these wide receivers to gain further chemistry with Justin, to know the type of ball he throws. He'll throw you open. And things that they haven't been able to do, I think, in practice is completely flipped now. And now we can really focus on the most important thing, and that's week 1.
That's the key. You just said it, Chris, and it's a great point. It's not Justin Herbert. It's everybody else.
Yeah.
And was everybody else able to get the reps that they needed to get ready? Like you said, for Brendan Rice to know, no, dude, you got to go full gas.
Yeah.
You have no time to take a half step, because he is going to throw it exactly where it needs to be for max production and highest added value. So put your foot in the ground and go. And so that's what they lost. That's what you're talking about. And I think it's a great point. We knew Justin was going to be fine. It's where are the tight ends? Where are the wide receivers? How does the O-line feel? Are they blocking, knowing where he wants to be? And is he going to climb? Is he going to roll? Like all of those things that surround him is what needs to catch up with him now being back there. And it's August 22nd today. He returned on August 19th. First game is September 8th. Plenty of time.
It's like
absolutely
3 weeks.
Plenty of time for them to get in sync and to pick up. And so I kept saying it for everybody that was kicking and screaming about the backup and they've got to find somebody. I said, to me, it just signals that it's not, that they're very comfortable that Justin's going to be there week 1. Now, I do think Easton's got to perform. I think Easton is playing for his job. I really believe that based on who is going to end up being available. As I look at, we already went through this. We don't have to rehash it, but there are teams that are only going to carry 2 quarterbacks that have bona fide, legitimate NFL backups at their 3 spot. And either they're going to cut them and you're going to be able to scoop them up, or they'll make them available for a late round pick, of which the Chargers have a handful and can go out and pluck one of those guys if Easton does not do. And I think it is a 0 mistake game. It's your QB rating is going to have to be in the hundreds. You cannot fumble. You cannot throw an interception. You have to lead scoring drives. You have to execute in the red zone. You've got to escape pressure. You've got to make sure you're ready to throw that hot route on the blitz, the hot read on the blitz. Like, I think all of that has to come together for Easton in this game for them not to go down that road. Because if I had to guess, I think they're probably already halfway down it, and he's going to have to pull them back if he wants to be QB2.
I love that Harbaugh put it back out there and said, hey, Easton, tough game week 1. We have confidence in you to go out there and kind of acquit yourself a little bit better. And it didn't happen. And with the unforced errors is what Harbaugh's not going to tolerate. You can't fumble the ball at the 1 yard line and just drop the snap. You can't throw an errant pass that gets tipped in the air when you're driving to score. These are things that he kept saying, control the controllables. Things that we can control. Errors, those cannot happen. They cannot happen if you're Justin Herbert's backup, because I always look at it from like a quarter perspective. If you have to have a backup quarterback in for 4 weeks, you better be 2-2, right? You better have a team that can at least keep you afloat, and a quarterback that can keep you afloat. And typically a backup quarterback in this league has a lot of starts under their belt. They've been around for a while. They're savvy enough to know that they have to go in and not mess the game up. And kind of manage the game. So you're right. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are out there, from PJ Walker to Taylor Heineke to Cooper Rush. I'm just thinking of guys like right off the top of my head. I mean, you could go around the league and see who's playing at a pretty high level right now, and I'm sure you'll find several more. But I'm rooting for Easton. We love Easton as a guy, and I hope he has a really good performance Saturday in Dallas against those Cowboys.
And I think so many people think about like, hey, what if he's gone for a month? For me, it's what if he's gone for a series? What if he's gone for a quarter? He's got to go back into the locker room and get something checked out, and he's fine.
Absolutely.
And I was looking off camera for those watching on YouTube because I wanted to pull it up because I remember it. And I remember the moment I said, Chase Daniel can't be a backup. He cannot be the backup quarterback. And it was in San Francisco in 2023. And Herbert it comes out, he scrambles, he takes a hit, and Greenlaw got disqualified. Remember, he took a shot, and they had to put him in concussion protocol because he took a shot. And Daniel comes in, and it's the end of the quarter, and they're at the 20. And Joe Lombardi puts Chase Daniel in, and it was like you put in a parking cone and you just snap the ball, because that it would have been as effective as Chase Daniel was in that moment. And I just assumed they were going to hand it off 3 times. Instead, it was almost like Lombardi's like, oh, watch what I'm going to do. This is my guy, and now you're going to see why we have him. Almost threw a pick. He gets sacked, and Dicker ends up coming in and kicking the field goal. But I'll never forget that series. Yeah. And I think it speaks to what a lot of people are saying right now about Easton. It's like, hey, we know we have an Iron Man. We know he played 62 straight games. And who knows? He may have even played through the finger if they were in a playoff race or something like that this past year. But when you do get in those moments, you want to make sure you have someone that's going to help you, just like you said, stay afloat. And for me, it's mostly in the game. If he gets tagged like he did in the San Francisco game, and at that point the score is 13-10 Chargers, don't turn the ball over. Let's see if we can punch this thing in the end zone and really put the pressure on him at 20-10 going into the half. And it was anything but that.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. Because the way that, in the safety protocols, for good measure too. I mean, concussions are a big deal. If you have to leave for a series or 2 series before you come back in, you have to have a guy that the team is going to say, hey, we can win with this guy. We're good. We can do this. So that's just something I think to monitor over the next couple of weeks. One thing that we know is going to help Justin this year that he has not had the last couple of years is a running game. And the way that the offensive line blocked on Saturday and the way that Kimani Vidal ran was very, very impressive. That running back room, we know it's a J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards-led backfield. But the fact that Vidal popped like that, were you surprised? We just have not seen much of him during training camp because of an injury. He was working through something. But Patterson played well the week before, over 5 yards a pop. And then Vidal, he really shined. And, you still have guys like Dotson and Spiller in that backfield.
Yeah, I wouldn't say surprised. I was excited. It's exciting. It's an exciting style of running. And DJ made a great point. There was one run, I think it was an A-gap run, like right there up the middle, and he just kind of hid because Kamani's small. I shouldn't say small. He's short. He's not small. He's short. So he just kind of hid behind the line, was very patient, hole opens, and then pop, he appears, and the defense had no idea where he was, that's where he was hiding, and it was almost like a counter, and he cuts back, and it ends up going for like 12, 13 yards, and in the moment, DJ's like, ooh, that looked like somebody we know. That and I thought the exact same thing. I was like, yes, that was Austin Eckler. That is so many of those Eckler runs that we would see the line get kind of muddy, and all of a sudden he'd see it, and he'd pop, and he was gone, and there was some of that. There was a lot of that. It's not Darren Sproles. I said this on the broadcast. I was like, it's not Sproles. He's not built the same way. He doesn't run the same way. DJ made the comparison that he's like a mini Josh Jacobs, and I think that's a great one because he's very physical.
I like that.
There's not a lot. He's not looking to stretch it and hit the corner. It's going to be, in the box. It's going to be in the A gap, in the B gap, and it's physical, and it's physical, but it's also elusive. And it's a really fun style of running. And you brought up Jared Patterson for the last couple of weeks. I have said, boldly, which of course is always a stupid way to say things, that, Patterson's got the 3 locked up. We are not talking about a battle for 4. And it's like, there's still a lot of football to be played. There's still a lot of, there's a couple weeks this guy hasn't had an opportunity to show what he's capable of. And, oh yeah, he showed it. I have no doubt he showed it to the point where, I know, I don't know if it was Coach Harbaugh or Coach Roman that was talking. They really wanted to make sure that they continued to heap praise on Jared. Like, this is a guy that's doing everything right. This is a guy that works really hard. This is a guy that really wants it. And I feel like it was he knows. Jared knows what he saw out there. He knows this is a rookie that was used a draft pick on him. So it's just hey man, stay focused. We love what you're doing. I know what you saw. Don't let it get you down. Continue to make this a competition and get out there and do some great things in Dallas.
It's a great point. Patterson, he comes into this battle as an undrafted guy, but what I saw from Vidal, again, it looked like Austin Eckler. He wears number 30, but also you're hiding behind like Joe Alt, who's like a giant, right? And it just the fact that he can hide and find the hole and get that extra yardage was really impressive. But the way that they blocked Money too, just
that's a key.
Your thoughts on just the way that the running game looks up front from that perspective.
Yeah, we said it about, I'd say maybe halfway through the game. We're like, man, Tucker Fisk, for showing up a couple days ago, they are asking him to do a lot. Like, he's not just attached on the right side and then attached on the left side, and it's I formation. He's in motion. They're in diamond. He's, running counters, and he's jumping gaps, and he's got combo blocks. I mean, they really asked him to do a lot. And there was one in particular, I went back and watched all of his blocks, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a little bit later in the game. And man, he pops the defensive line. I think it was Bucky Williams who might have been in at the time at center. So he almost gets a little bit of a little double team there, pops him, and then immediately is climbing in the hole, gets to the linebacker, clears him out, and it was one of the longer runs that Kamani had that was in the A gap, and he just kind of veered off the side of Fisk, and I was like, okay, that's what, and he's wearing number 44, right? So that's what they wanted Ben Mason to be able to do, and when he couldn't, they moved on and brought Fisk in, and I'm like, that's what they were looking for. That's what they expected Ben Mason. He's listed as a tight end. He's a fullback. It's a fullback, tight end, fullback hybrid, but a blocking tight end, fullback hybrid. And man, it looked like the piece. Like that to me is, I know I'm kind of scattered and I'm stammering, but that's like the Jordan McFadden thing.
Yeah.
You'd be much better off having him in there than Jordan McFadden because he's still got enough power. He got pushed around a little bit, came off a couple blocks, but there was enough there that I was like, okay, we got ourselves a battle for if they're going to carry 4 tight ends. You would assume they are. I think I put my 53 together and I got 54 and I got to figure out where I'm going to lose one. And I've just been staring at it.
Is Parham in that 54?
Parham is not.
Wow.
He's not. But to me, that's what changes, right? Because one of those touchdowns that Justin threw on Wednesday was to Parham. And it's like, yes, that's the red zone. That's what he's there for. And he couldn't show that off with Easton. We talked about that in practice. So that's where it gets tricky. And it's like, what? But I look at the room and I look at it like this. So like I have 4 tight ends. I have Disley, Hurst, Stone Smart, and Fisk. And I look at it as, I think Stone gives you enough of what Parham does. Like, I think there's enough there. I think he's still 6'6". He's not 6'9", but he's 6'5"-ish. He's super athletic. He catches the ball. He can be that red zone target. I know it's not 6'9", and that's the difference, but he is an adequate blocker, and I think and Hurst is an adequate blocker. Fisk is a good blocker. Disley is an exceptional blocker. So that's kind of the way I put it together. I'm like, you got Hurst and Stone to be your receivers. You got Disley and Fisk to be your blockers. And that's sort of how because otherwise I think if it's Parham, then you're talking about really just one above average. Now he's an elite blocking tight end, Disley, but otherwise you're just at average. And so I think Fisk then gives you that above average blocker if you want to have 2 tight ends out there blocking. So that's kind of why I put that room together that way. We'll see.
I do not know the answer to this, but how much input do you think Justin has in like, hey, I'm really comfortable with this guy, or hey, right?
A lot.
Just the rapport that he has with Parham is over the last couple of years has been very noticeable, obviously to us and fans. The fact that Justin has not been around the last couple of weeks, I think it's tougher for a guy like Parham who has this specific skill set that he knows, Justin's going to really, I think, elevate that skill set. So that's going to be, we talked about it right before we got on, just the different position groups and position battles. Tight end's one of them. And what I love about what they're doing and Joe Ortiz is doing is like guys like Tucker Fisk, he was just brought in. Shaq Quarterman, who made a huge play in that fourth quarter, I believe, just got in the building. So they are, if you are not going to make this team, they're going to let you go, and they're going to bring somebody else in to compete. And just to see those 2 guys who just came from another program couple of days making plays. It's exactly what I think probably Ortiz and Harbaugh want to see is like, okay, we're bringing these guys in to compete, and they're certainly doing it.
Yeah. And you know what? We didn't even mention the guy that was the most impressive of the ones that came in this week, and that's T.R. Tart.
Yeah.
I mean, now granted, T.R. Tart's played at an incredibly high level. He's not somebody that was on the back end of someone else's roster and you're just bringing him in and seeing if he can make, the 52nd or the 53rd slot. This is someone that was, a starter, part of the number one run defense in the league 3 years ago in Tennessee. So he's on the team. It's not even close. I mean, he was dominant. Dominant in every one of his snaps against the Rams backups. And he is explosive. He is athletic. He was in the backfield, snap in, snap out. I would be floored if he was not on this team week 1 against the Raiders. And it's a big get, I think, because that, to me, his addition, and that's the other thing, right? So now I got 6 defensive linemen that are making the team, 5 edge, 6 D line. That's 11 players right there, between edge and D line. Because I've got Morris Brash making it along with the 4 that we know are going to make it. And then with the addition of Tart, I'm like, all right, I don't know which one of these guys, obviously Morgan Fox, Poona Ford, Tito, and a Boygby, they're all making it. And now I think it comes down to you've got 3 guys, Hinton, Matlock, Tart, for 2 spots, if they're going to carry 6. And like I said, I've got 54. I need to figure out where that player is going to get trimmed. And I don't know if it's there. I don't know if it's at corner. I doubt it. I've only got 7 corners. They carried 8 for most of the year last year. I've only got 3 safeties, James, Gilman, Finley. I put JT Woods in the corner category now because that's where he's been playing exclusively in practice. Now he played
like linebacker.
Yeah.
Listen.
He's been playing that outside corner. He played it for about. They never threw at him in the Rams game, but he probably got about 18 snaps at that outside corner spot. So, I don't know. I got to figure it out. I got to figure out which one of these guys that I have is not going to be on the team.
Well, let's go to the linebacker real quick because we know Henley's making the team, right? We know Denzel's making the team. We know Colson's making the team.
Yeah. Nick Neiman.
Nick
Troy Dye.
Troy Dye. Shane Lee's done pretty well in the preseason games.
Lee, Quarterman. You've got a lot of dudes.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be tough. That's a good thing. It's a good thing when you have tough decisions to make at the end of the.
To me, I think that's settled though. I think Neiman is one of the best special teams players in the league, and I think they're bringing in all of these linebackers to get a look at special teams. Yeah. To figure out, okay, if we sprinkle in, what's our combination? How many corners? How many linebackers? How many D lines? So to me, that might be what I would, if I'm for the fans, just kind of, it's not so much about defense. I think it's watch the special teams, watch the kickoffs, and just count the linebackers. And I'm wondering if that's why they're collecting these bodies so they could figure out, hey, are we better off with 4 linebackers, 2 D linemen, and 3 corners? Are we better with 4 corners, 3 linebackers, 3 D linemen? What's the right combo? So I think that's what I would expect to see in this game and in practice a lot, is how they're mixing and matching those groups.
So the secondary, I think we're all in agreement. It's Derwin, Alohi, and Finley is the top 3 safeties.
Yeah,
that's and Zont and Jasir, and then
Fulton, Zont, Jasir, Tarheeb Still, Cam Hart, JT Woods, and I'll tell you, man, Dean Leonard had himself a game.
Yeah,
he had a game against the Rams. He's the best player on the field in that game. He was the best player on the field, and he's going to be pushing. He is going to be pushing those guys for one of those outside corner spots. Even the play that that he got the penalty, or that they got the big completion on the left sideline, he was step for step with, I can't remember who the receiver was, but he just stepped on his foot, and that's how tight he was in coverage. That he stepped on the guy's foot, fell into him, and that's what led to that big completion. So, but getting the pick in the end zone, reading that he almost had a second one. He read it perfectly. He's turning into a heck of a player. Yeah. So I got 7 there, and like I said, they carried 8 for most of last year. Hankins has shown that he's very versatile. He's playing some safety. He's playing, some corners. So there's guys that Harper's played really well, but those are practice squad guys. I don't think even though it's a premium position, I don't know if you're in danger of maybe losing them to being claimed for someone that's going to put them on their 53. I don't know if they've shown enough there.
Even though we haven't seen a lot from the wide receiver position just due to Justin being out, I think we're pretty set with the top 4, right? We're set with Ladd and Palmer and Quentin and DJ Shark. And then, listen, Brendan Rice.
Well, you got Davis. You got 5.
Okay, so Davis 5, but also a punt returner. So, like, do you keep?
But I mean, that's a spot. That's 5. So he's not getting cut. He's on the team.
No doubt. So it leads me to Simi Fehoko, who's played awesome, right?
He's been the best. I hate, I shouldn't say that. I don't hate saying it. He's way ahead of Brendan Rice right now. Yeah. I think he has looked fantastic. He's blocking his tail off. It's funny when you watch the runs and you watch when Simi's out there. He knows he's not in the play. He's 15 yards down the field, and he's still shoving a guy to the ground. Like, it's funny to watch him, and you know that the guys love it, that Roman loves it, and Harbaugh loves it. He's like, whatever, man, it's a run play. I can do this, so I'm going to do it. And he's just cleaning dudes out. Guys think they're playing press, and it's going to be a pass play, and they're just a little bit off balance, and he's chucking them. But he's looked great. Those over routes, he's been lethal. I know the numbers aren't quite there, but he's open on every one of those. He's able to shake his defender, give a little bit of space, and he made that great grab. If you go back and watch that play, and just such a heads-up play too. It's a 3rd and 8. He's got the over route. It's thrown well. Easton threw it really well. He threw him into it, but just kind of the coverage was so tight that he lost his balance a little bit. He goes to the ground and he realizes he's not touched, and he picks up another 11 yards. So, yeah, I think to me, if you're just doing it on merit and you're not worried about who's going to get plucked off the practice squad, are we going to lose him if we don't keep? I think he's receiver 6. And again, remember what we're saying. He's receiver 6.
Yes.
So
it feels important now, but
yes.
Once we get to Raider week, it's not going to really matter.
Keep all of that in perspective.
But you also made a great point this offseason, even before we got to training camp. You said, hey, you know what? These 7th-round wide receivers are going to have a tough time. They may be on the practice squad, and it's probably trending that way, to be honest with you. I mean, you can't keep 8 receivers, so Cornelius Johnson and Brendan Rice, I'd like to see how they play on Saturday in hopes of maybe, snagging that 6 wide receiver spot. But again, like you said, if you're doing this on merit, man, Fehoko, he's been awesome. Harbaugh praised him after the game. And again, the competition, it's all about the competition that Harbaugh wants to see this time of year.
Right. And again, so much of it too is the calculus surrounding who could get picked up and put on a 53-man roster. Is Brendan Rice ready to contribute to a team today? I think maybe. He's willing. He busts his tail. He's very physical. He's comfortable with contact. He does a great job going up to get 50-50 balls. But when the lights turn on, he's had a little bit of an issue, right? Had that big drop in that game, had an opportunity. It's just a short, kind of plant yourself, flash that you're open, catch the ball, and we're on to 2nd and 5. Instead, he drops it, and it's 2nd and 10. And, that's the stuff that he's got to be able to show. I thought Q had a great game. He had 1 catch, big deal, but he's open. He, even though he didn't complete the catch, he couldn't have. He got shoved out of bounds. The fact that he's high pointing it. And what'd you just do with your hands?
Yeah.
What'd you just do with your hands? How'd you show that he caught it?
Boom.
It's a triangle, not this, into the body. He's been doing this all camp. We've seen it. Whoever's working with him has worked him out of those bad habits, out of that muscle memory, where he's here, where he's just remember how many times we saw him go up with 1 hand and you're like, what? Why are you going up with 1 hand? And I think it's just all muscle memory. It's subconscious. That's what he's doing. And they've worked that out of him. And now that they have, it's like, you got to remember, man, he's a freaking specimen. So if they can coach some better habits into him and get his confidence right, then that's there. It's just, it's got to show up on September 8th.
Yep. He drew an illegal contact penalty early in the game, too. So, again, that's a big chunk.
And that would have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
It was a smart penalty because it would have been a touchdown. The guy bit on the stutter step, and he would have been clean. And instead, he got a handful of shirt, got the penalty. Would have been nice to see him track because, he's always had trouble kind of tracking those balls over his head. And and hauling him in. I wish he would have had a nice clean break on that so we could see him do that in a game. But yeah, look, that's half of it. Can you make yourself available? And I thought he had a really good game against the Rams, even though the box score might not say as much.
I think he had a pretty awesome practice yesterday too. Popper outlined he had one drop, and then after that, just him and Justin were just he was finding Mr. Johnston. So I'm excited about Quentin. I am. I do think that he's gonna have a much better year this year.
Yeah,
and
I hope so.
I think I've asked you this maybe 3 times throughout this offseason, but I guess it's worth asking again as we wrap up preseason game number 3 on Saturday. Like, what's the pecking order of the wide receivers? What is it?
Oh, I think it's still what we think it is. I still think it's, although it looks like DJ might be working through something, so that would change it. But I think if there's no injury, I still think it's Chark, Palmer, McConkey. I still think those are your top 3.
Do you think McConkey could end up being the guy who has the most receptions this year, though?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think he or Josh, to me, are the two that, and for Josh, it's just staying healthy. Josh stays healthy for 17, it'll be Josh Palmer. He'll end up with an 1,100, 1,200 yard season if he stays healthy for 17. So, and hopefully make himself a lot of money because, he's been a great receiver. He just has not been able to stay on the field. So, but yeah, McConkey's just, come on. I think you even saw it on the field last week against the Rams. If you just watch his routes and how precise he is, how available he is, and thinking about a quarterback like Justin that sees it so quickly and can put it on you in rhythm, and with that 4.3 speed, now you've created that separation, that 1 to 1.5 yards of separation. You've caught the pass in stride. He's thrown you into the pass, and now your 4.3 speed shows up, and that's how you end up with some really fun, pitch and catch action out there.
The fans are puzzle piecing this, trying to picture Justin and Ladd in a real game and what that could look like. And, we will see it week 1. And speaking of week 1, I want to get your thoughts on Gardner Minshew as the starting quarterback.
That's what I figured.
Raiders. Yeah.
I figured that's what it was going to be.
Yeah.
They paid him. They paid him like he was in the running to be the starter. And to me, I think Coach Pierce knows that he's got to win. That he's on one of those contracts and Mark Davis, we've seen him eat it. He ate a lot of money with Josh McDaniel. He ate a lot of money with John Gruden. He is not afraid to boot guys. And when, you think about, and I don't know if he would do it, but when you're in a division with Sean Payton, now Jim Harbaugh and Andy Reid, and Bill Belichick becomes a TV star, because he's good when he wants to be. He's funny. He's got that dry delivery, but he's a brilliant dude. I could see that as being if things go really bad for the Raiders, as it's an arms race. We can't keep up with Harbaugh, Payton, and Reed. So we've got to go get, someone of that caliber. And so I think Coach knows that. He's like, we got to win games. And I think Gardner gives them the best chance to win games. It's not about developing Aiden O'Connell into a long-term fit. For me, they're either going to win this year, and they're going to win with, great defensive front and, Devontae Adams and Gardner Minshew making some plays, or they're going to lose a lot, and they're going to find their quarterback of the future. I mean, Shadur Sanders in a Raiders jersey just makes too much sense, right? To me, that lines up so well. And
that would be perfect for the AFC West. Honestly.
Yeah. So it's just kind of, and who knows? There's always, there's going to be another quarterback that flashes, that ends up working his way into the top 5 like they always do. It's the way it works. It's just the way Jaden Daniels. Who knew it was going to be Jaden Daniels? And there he was, and now all of the district is free. The DMV is freaking out over Jaden Daniels, and they would have never in a million years thought that's who was going to be their savior a year ago today. So I don't know how we got. Oh, Pierce. Yeah, so that's why. I think let's see if we can win some games here early. Yeah. Lean on the defense, get the running game going, and try to get some momentum. because the defense is good. The defensive front is good. Secondary, but the defensive front is really good. I mean, it
Yeah,
can
and
wreck
of
a
course,
football game.
leading up to Raider week, we will dive into
Yeah,
Joe Alt versus Max Crosby week 1. I mean, how about
right.
that, man? How about that for your first matchup?
Yeah, and that's where the whole Will Dissly thing comes in. It's like, hey, we know that we're fine with Slater 1-on-1. So if you're going to try to, and that's what they would. That's how many games have we seen Will Dissly, Max Crosby abuse Trey Pipkins, and Slater's just over there stoning his guy the entire game, and Crosby wants nothing to do with him. He's just like, no, I'm not going to. Why would I do that? I can take advantage over here. Slater and I are going to battle to a stalemate. He'll win half the battles. I'll win half the battles, and I can win all the battles over here. And you can't do that. And who knows? Maybe Joe can handle him on his own. I think it'd be very tough. He's so refined. He's such a deft pass rusher with all the counters and all the power, and he's just got so much experience. He might be the best pass rusher in the league. I think he is, actually. Probably the best pass rusher in the league. So that's asking a lot. But that's where the Dissly signing comes in, is now you're like, yeah, Slater's fine on the island. We're helping over here. Better figure it out on the interior. Here comes Christian Wilkins.
Well,
can you slow that down? Can you slow that train down?
Yeah, that's now he's got a running mate up front with Wilkins. So we'll dive into that matchup in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Staying in the AFC West, because obviously the Chargers play the Broncos relatively early in the year. I think it's week 7,
week 5, I think, or something, or week 7.
I think it's
when they come here, because they come here.
5, week 6, I think, right after the bye. So Bo Nix, the starting quarterback of the Broncos, obviously has looked good in the preseason. Peyton talks about the perfect fit. I guess we will see when it gets real when they play the Seahawks week 1. But, he has looked good in the preseason.
Yeah, he really has. But, again, I think the preseason is the preseason. I don't freak out when guys look really good. Don't freak out when they look really bad, unless it's really bad. But look at Caleb Williams. I mean, some of those throws are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels, some of those throws are ridiculous. But it is the preseason.
Yeah.
I think, and
Caleb started with 3 3-and-outs too. You see the big play, but you don't talk about we didn't start that great. Against since he's back
against the start. Yeah, exactly. So take it for what it's worth.
Yeah.
One thing I do know, Joe Alt belongs, and that may be my Chargers bias shining through, but that's something you can get a real read on. He got beat. Did he reset? Yes, he was able to reset. He was able to anchor. Guys had 1 pressure and 30 dropbacks, and he's dominated. It's been really fun to watch, and feel really good about that selection and what it means for Justin Herbert to have Slater and Alt this whole season.
Yeah. Last thing for me today is the formula to win. Like, we know what it is, right? Like, what it is with Harbaugh, and I just think that's so refreshing that he's really going to lean on this running game. And the fact that you have one of the best quarterbacks in the league with a potential running game this year, that's really exciting. It's going to be a different style of football, but it's going to be really exciting. And then defensively, just seeing the way that these guys attack. We haven't seen Derwin out there or Joey or Khalil, but just the way that the defense has attacked, you can see this Jesse Minter defense. Those fingerprints are there in preseason. And again, week 1, when you put your 3 best players out there and add it to that defense, it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'll just finish by piggybacking that and saying the way you win. And I think Bill Barnwell had the article on ESPN about what teams are going to be better this year, what teams are going to be worse. He put the Chargers in the teams that are going to be better. And he kind of followed a path that I've shared here as it pertains to people taking shots at Herbert and saying, oh, we can't win games, and they lose all these close games. And he's like, and he just went through the log, and he's like, against Miami, they're up 4 with 2 minutes to go. Against Denver, they're up. Against the Detroit Lions, they're up again. And it's just, so the way to win, it's going to be a lot of Jesse Minter. It's going to be a lot of Jesse Minter and Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack and Derwin James and that linebacking level. And that's what we have not had. Herbert's delivered leads. He has delivered late leads, and they have not been able to get. I forgot about the Detroit game, man. Like that one was gut wrenching. And when he went through I was like, oh, that's right. I totally spaced. And at that time, they're 4-4. And it's like, okay, win this game. Green Bay's struggling. My God, they made Jordan Love $200 million. And that was another one. So Detroit, when you go through the play-by-play, the Chargers are up. Let's see, they've tied the game at 31, right? They've tied the game at 31, and Detroit converts. It's a blown coverage that they get the touchdown on. So they go up 38-31. Now Herbert runs a 4-minute drill. They convert a 4th and 1 for the touchdown and tie it at 38. And what happens on the ensuing possession? They convert a 3rd and 14, a 4th and 2, a 3rd and 11, and they end up getting the game-winning field goal. And it's just like, yeah, that can't happen. That just explosives all over the field. Let's see, where was it? On 4th and 2, 20. They get Sam Laporte on a 4th down. Could have got off the field.
Yeah,
couldn't get that, and that was essentially the game. So I kind of got a little bit of that wrong, but I was like, gosh, I remember that game where it felt like, okay, this feels good, and then the defense just lets down. And
it's a turning point. It was one of the turning points in the season, because
the Green Bay game was worse. The Green Bay game was brutal. And the thing is, like, everybody remembers that as the Quentin game and the drop, and that's fair. Yeah, it's definitely fair to remember that. But let's not forget the Chargers were up. Let's see, where was it? They were up 20-16, and in the 4th quarter with 5 minutes left, they're up 4, and they gave up a 3rd and 20, wide open, middle of the field, and it was a penalty on Asante Samuel, defensive DPI on a 3rd and 20. And then that deep pass to Dubs where he flashed wide open. So listen, that's old S. Doesn't matter anymore. It's behind us. But I'm just speaking to how you win games. It's going to be offense, and it's going to be being able to run the ball so your defense stays fresh. And so you don't have to grab because you're too tired to keep up with the receivers late in the game. It's that 4th quarter drill. It's the overtime drill with Coach Herb and all of that. That's going to contribute to winning games. So, man, I'm just looking at this rundown from last year, and it's like, oh, Detroit, Green Bay. I remember that.
That was really. I mean, I'm glad you did, because that was kind of my point. Is there's a straight identity. There's an identity in a formula now.
Tennessee in overtime when they gave up that big pass, they should have won that game.
Minnesota almost lost that game. If it wasn't for the Kenneth Murray interception in the end zone, right? You would have lost that game.
Yeah, would have lost that. Yeah, you can flip it the other way too. Exactly. You can definitely flip it the other way. But yeah, the Dallas game. Remember that? Dallas game was another nightmare defensively. Yeah. That they ended up. What were they? They were
Pollard had that huge run.
tied at 17. Tied at 17 with 7 minutes to go. And they end up giving up I remember there was a long one in there that they ended up giving up. I can't remember what it was. Anyway. Old S. We move on.
Yep. We are we're talking about the past, but we are looking towards the future.
Yes. No more of that. I'm done with it.
No more. We're excited about Saturday. I'm excited to see some of these guys that are trying to make this team go all out. I just think about it from their perspective. It is like a Super Bowl for a lot of these guys that you're not going to see again. This is like their one shot to make the team, make the practice squad, audition for another team in the NFL. We always called this one the Austin Eckler game because this is where Austin made the Chargers roster in 2017. So we'll see who flashes on Saturday. So
I'll just point this out, folks, as it's our first road trip of the year. There is what is currently called a heat dome in Dallas, expected to be in Dallas. Actually, I believe it's there already. And Saturday, it's big red flashing, excessive heat, 99 degrees, 40% humidity is what we're talking about. So stay hydrated, be careful. I don't know if they can pump enough AC into that joint with the door closed and the roof closed. I don't know if they're going to open the door or how that works, but going to be
I
an
hope, that, I
interesting
hope that
one.
radio booth has AC and some ice cold water, man.
It's going to be dolphin shorts and a tank top for me.
Perfect.
That's how I'm going to call the game. It's radio.
I love it. Take a
Yeah,
picture.
burn the tape, Brian. It's radio. I'm wearing the tank top. I don't care.
Take it. Oh yeah. Well, are we gonna get the GoPro in the booth?
Exactly. I'm saying I'll just get a little Vaseline on the thumb and put it on the lens there, so it's nice and blurry. What is that? Is that Matt wearing a tank top? Nah, it's collared shirt, just a little blurry there. That's all.
You know what? I think you know what. If there's ever time to do it, it's the preseason finale. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it on Saturday, please.
Oh yeah.
All right, guys. Always appreciate you listening, watching. This has been Chargers Weekly. For Money, I'm Chris. We will see you next week.